Hey everybody, it's Mac. Welcome back to my channel. So I've been asked for years to make a video about my journey to libertarianism and anarcho-capitalism and how I got here, and I never quite got around to it. I always felt like my Twitter spoke for itself. So with my recent Twitter ban, and now that I'm uploading more YouTube videos for y'all, I figured I would finally make a video discussing how the hell I got here to anarcho-capitalism. So here I am. My entire childhood, pretty much, my brother and I were told that it's not polite to discuss three things with strangers: religion, politics, and family feuds. While I agree on the family feuds, I think it's safe to say that as an anarcho-capitalist who has a very outspoken presence on the internet and someone who majored in comparative religions in college, I blew the top off of at least two of those forbidden topics with strangers. Sorry, Dad, but really not sorry. Before going to college, I was completely apathetic on politics. I mean, the first year I was able to vote, I didn't. There were voting drives on my college campus all over the place in 2012. Obama and Romney both creeped me out. Turns out, as a normie, I had a pretty good intuition about politicians. A few years into my college career, I was already experiencing burnout. Without college, though, there's a very real possibility, as crazy as it sounds, that I would have never encountered libertarianism at all. I was still friends for some reason with a girl that I had known since middle school on Facebook, and she messaged me on Facebook and approached me about a group called Young Americans for Liberty. It sounded political, and I told her I really wasn't interested in politics, but I hadn't spoken to her in a while, and honestly I thought it would be nice to catch up with an old acquaintance, so I agreed to go out with her for coffee, and the rest is pretty much history. As it turns out, she wanted me to start a chapter of YAL on my college campus, Young Americans for Liberty. At the time, there weren't college Republicans or even college Democrats clubs on my campus, so we would be the only political activism club on my campus, and that was kind of daunting to me. I told her that my major was in comparative religion, and I was thinking about minoring in anthropology at the time, and I couldn't really see how a club about promoting liberty that sounded super political to me could possibly build my resume or even interest me at all. But she told me something that I haven't forgotten since then, and I still hold slightly true to this day. And she said that you don't have to be a poli-sci, political science major, to be interested in politics, that it's pretty much inescapable, and we need regular, everyday people talking about these topics if we want to reach people and get more people interested in liberty. I was looking for something to keep myself occupied at that point in college, and so I agreed to become chapter president of Young Americans for Liberty on my college campus. At this point, I was painfully centrist, and I found myself recruiting and handing out flyers that said fiscally conservative, socially liberal anyway. Did I know what that phrase actually meant? Nope. Had I read a single book about libertarianism to be able to be promoting the idea of liberty? Also no. I could go on a rant about activism, but that's another topic for another day. I don't want to give anyone the idea that I didn't enjoy being involved with Young Americans for Liberty. I was extremely excited, and I worked really hard as a chapter president and just threw myself into it 110%. When I joined, though, I hadn't even heard of Ron Paul, and for those of you who don't know, Young Americans for Liberty started out of Students for Ron Paul, so that sounds pretty insane. I ended up actually graduating from chapter president and becoming a state chair for my state, which basically means I drove around my state starting chapters at other colleges across my state. I met a lot of people that I'm still friends with to this day doing that, and I don't regret the experience at all. I just realized at some point that activism really wasn't for me and wasn't quite what I thought it would be. That was pretty much just the start in 2015 though. For the rest of 2016, I traveled around my state after becoming a state chair for Young Americans for Liberty, and I traveled the country to various conferences and events, not just for YAL, but for TPUSA and a bunch of other organizations. I was an activist. I really believed that I was making a difference, and I'm not going to knock that because that's something I really needed at that point in college. But it wasn't enough. Just like I burned out with college, and was burning out with college, I was also burning out with activism and with Young Americans for Liberty. By the end of 2016, which was an election year for those of you who I don't know how you could possibly forget, I was extremely tired of activism and politics. I traveled to a debate, actually, a presidential debate, and held up signs for Gary Johnson. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it, but still, all of this was a crucial part of my political journey. By the end of 2016, I was tired of college, and I was tired of Young Americans for Liberty, and I actually ended up leaving college and dropping out. Though at that point, after that, I wasn't an official member of Young Americans for Liberty or on staff anymore, I still had a ton of activist friends. So from 2017 to 2018, I still attended a bunch of Students for Liberty events, TPUSA events, Turning Point USA, Young Americans for Liberty conferences, but I was just going through the motions at that point. I didn't really feel that any of those organizations represented my beliefs accurately at that point, or really did what I thought was a good thing to make change at that point, but I just wanted to see my friends, so I was traveling around to these conferences anyway. Now, this wouldn't be quite an accurate summary of how I got to where I am politically without mentioning something that I've only talked about probably in a handful of maybe live streams or once in a video. In early 2017, I was also doxxed by a public school teacher, wonderful public servant, and a supporter of Antifa. Now, keep in mind, I was pretty politically centrist, the whole fiscally conservative, socially liberal. I wasn't radical at all, but apparently this lovely individual took offense at the videos that I had up on my YouTube channel that you're watching right now at the time, which were videos of me rolling around a 6-foot-tall beach ball and having students sign it in support of free speech. Apparently that's offensive. After seeing my Mac and Liberty Facebook page, this lovely individual decided to comment my address on a bunch of my posts on my public Facebook page and inform me that my address is going to be distributed to local Antifa chapters in my area because people should know where fascists sleep. Wish I still had the screenshot of that. It was hilarious. Keep in mind at this point, I had no radical beliefs. I was pretty pathetically centrist, maybe leaned a little left, and was calling myself libertarian. But I was starting to feel like my beliefs weren't being represented. And honestly, me being doxxed might have been the tipping point. It was definitely a crucial time where I realized not everybody can be convinced to be a libertarian or to support freedom. Now, I don't talk about that doxing event a lot because I feel the whole victim narrative is really tiresome, but I felt that it was important to mention it in this video because it definitely changed my viewpoint. At the time where that happened, I hadn't really latched on to anything that could be considered radical. I just thought I was doing generic activism that all college students think is super important. But I was starting to get burned out of that, and then the doxing happened, and it kind of lit a fire under me, I'm not gonna lie. I think that person probably hoped that that would silence me, but I think it had the opposite effect on me, as you can probably see from the rest of my YouTube channel and content online. In 2017 and 2018, I had started to fall into anarcho-capitalist circles of friends and online friends, and they were quite the characters. They had mentioned to me something called the Mises Institute, and one of my friends encouraged me to get in touch with some guy named Phil Bishop. Anyways, I was supposed to see if I could get a scholarship to attend something called Mises University. There's actually still a video blog of that up on my channel, and I will probably never take it down even though it's terrible quality because it was the event that changed my political view and basically my life forever, as cheesy as it sounds. At this point, I had already been calling myself an anarcho-capitalist for about a year, but it really wasn't in good faith if I'm being honest. I knew nothing. Like I said, when I started with Young Americans for Liberty in 2015, I had not read a single book on economics and nothing about the philosophy, and was just handing out pamphlets to people, acting all excited that I was a political activist. When I arrived in Auburn, Alabama, where Mises Institute is, however, I started speaking with fellow attendees at this and going to lectures, and something fundamentally changed after that. These were my people. That's the only way that I can describe it. A lot of this is going to sound super cheesy, but I don't know how else to describe it. Every single lecture I attended, even though through half of the economics lectures my head was absolutely spinning, I just sat there and thought, I need to actually start reading into this stuff. I had been going through the motions of general libertarianism, which now I call most people who were what I was lowberts, who don't really read anything, might not even believe what they're saying, they're just going through the motions, and I didn't want to be that person anymore. I bought probably $200 worth of books at the Mises Institute bookstore, and I shoved them into my suitcase, and I even had to carry some home in my backpack because I just didn't have enough room. And I read Anatomy of the State on the plane ride home, and that was it. I was with these people. I finally felt like I discovered a part of libertarianism that I actually believed in, and maybe what I was looking for all along. And I haven't stopped reading. I have not stopped learning either. There are still some things that I don't know, but I do know that anarcho-capitalism and this form of libertarianism is absolutely something that I believe in, and now I promote it to everyone else. I've become a fellow content creator with some people that I genuinely respect and sincerely admire. Though Bishop, Lou Rockwell, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Murray Rothbard, Eric DeLye, Jeff Dice, Dr. Tom Woods, Stefan Molyneux, Dave Smith. I could go on, and I'm certain that I'm forgetting someone that's been really important to my journey, but I owe a huge debt to anyone and everyone that's ever suggested a book to me, that's ever created a video that I really enjoyed. These people are the reason why I'm into peaceful parenting, anarcho-capitalism, homeschooling, Austrian economics, and so much more. Everything that I'm passionate about when it comes to political solutions and philosophy that I think could help change the world. Do I know everything? I'd like to think so, but I don't. I'm sitting here in anarcho-capitalist, and I'm extremely passionate about culture and changing the culture so that we have a foundation where someday these ideas can come to fruition and everyone can live in a freer society. I can't wait to start making a change in this country, and honestly, it's the reason why even after getting banned from Twitter, I'm still here making videos. I cannot possibly thank everyone who has influenced me on this journey, but I want you all to know that I appreciate you probably more than you'll ever know. After I got banned from Twitter about 2 weeks ago, I received a huge influx from various people who were among my 20,000 followers. And I was flooded with comments on my Instagram, on my Facebook page. I got emails from some people and direct messages, and everyone was telling me that they were gonna miss me, and I was the reason why they looked into people like Hans Hermann Hoppe and Murray Rothbard and libertarian philosophy in general. And it got me thinking that I need to kick it into high gear, because even though I never viewed myself as someone that was important and the numbers were just kind of a fun meme for me, I might be that person to someone else. And so that's why I'm gonna continue making these videos. I hope this video helped you understand where I come from. It's really easy to get discouraged these days about the state of things, but honestly, I've never been more encouraged that more and more people are coming to the realization that all of this is truly the best way to go about things, just like I did. So until next time, this has been Mac, and I will talk to you guys very soon.